So we're back again for another live show. Now this show that we're doing tonight is I wanted to do this show with this brother because I see I hear a lot of people say, you know, that their current situation that they're stuck in, they don't feel like that they can do anything better or get anywhere better than what they're doing. Or because of some things that they did in the past that they can't get any better than what they're doing right now. And this brother that I'm going to bring on right now is a prime example that all of that is not true. Just because you made some mistakes in the past does not mean, or you made some mistakes when you were younger, does not mean that you can't do better later. So I want everybody to welcome on the show my brother, Dr. Mukasa Africa Ma'at. What's going on, bro?
Peace, bro. Peace and blessings. Honored to be on the show.
Man, I'm glad you came, man. So, I know you got some stuff to do, and it's a Friday night. You got the wife and kids, so we're not going to waste no time, man. We're going to dive right into it. So, tell
No
us
rush.
about.
I mean, we can take our time. How's the wife and children? How's the family?
Man, everybody's good, man. The wife's at work right now, so and my son's upstairs. Probably, matter of fact, he's probably doing his online courses for college. So it's just me and the dog downstairs. So
You, your dog, and the chores. Though I know you gotta take care of the husband and the daddy chores.
yeah. After I get done this, man, I gotta go pick up some Chinese. I got I gotta have her stir fried rice and chicken wings when
Of
she get off
course,
work.
of course, of course.
You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man. So you from Chicago?
Yes, sir. Born and raised.
So what was that like? I mean, what was it like growing up in Chicago?
So Chicago's an interesting city. It has it has downsides, it has upsides. I don't want people to think that my experience of Chicago is Chicago in general. But so you got your affluent neighborhoods, you got your east side, park side, certain areas in the north side. I didn't grow up in none of those areas.
Right.
um so I was born and raised near Rockwell Gardens, where my father, I think, as far as I know, the Rockwell Garden projects, my father lived his entire life. As far as I know, if he lived anywhere else, that's because I didn't know my dad very well. I've met him a few times, enough times to count on one hand. Had enough conversations with him that I could count on maybe two hands. That's how well I knew him. And there was a lot of bitterness that I eventually grew out of. As we become men, as you become your own man. And I always tell my students this: there's no need to blame other people. I mean, you're stuck with blame when you haven't achieved things that you want in life. I mean, some of that could be ego too. But I was extremely bitter towards my father growing up because of his absence. And maybe also because everybody would always say, you just like you're no good daddy. I didn't know what that meant until I met him. One of my memories of my dad, I spent the night over in the Rockwell Gardens in his mom's apartment in the projects. And those project boys, they play a whole different type of football too. Like, I thought we played rough football until I played with them boys. They play a whole different type of rough football. So my grandmother, Annie Lee Scales, came Annie Lee Durham. She was born as Scales. I've been able to research that wing of my family. But she gave me some money to go to the store to get some lunch meat. So I get the money, it's not too far from the building. The 16-story projects in Chicago. When people say projects in Chicago, those are the main ones they're talking about. So I get this money, and I went walking to the store to get the lunch meat, however many she told me to get, slices or whatever it was. I don't know. I don't remember. And lo and behold, I see this drunk man sitting on the curb in front of the store. Like, I barely even focused on it. I'm just going to the store. And He's like, "Hey, son." I'm like, "It's my dad." So my dad was sitting in the store, on the front of the store, and piss drunk, you know. And he said, "What you doing?" I said, "Grandma told me to go to the store." Now I barely knew my grandma, barely knew my dad, right? And sure enough, he took that money from me, split the money, got him some more to drink. I got half of the lunch meat she went, and I mean, she let me have it, man. She let me have it. So that was my dad, you know. My mom, she's had some mental, physical problems because of some of her habits, lifestyles, and some things she's had to suffer through with life. Some things that I'm not really comfortable with going into a lot of detail about. But my mom was there. She was always there, and I've learned to feel more sorry for my dad. You know, more. I mean, as I became the man that I am, as I became the father and the husband that I am, I've grew to feel more sorry for him than to be angry at him. And I think that that's one thing that young men can understand. Like, that's my message to young men. Like, if you are a young man, and for young ladies too, and if you know one or both of your parents are not around, or your parents are not physically or mentally functional. In my case, mentally functional with my mom. You still got to become who you were meant to be. You still have to become the man you're meant to be, or the woman you're meant to be, woman. And so he called me when I was graduating with my bachelor's. He gave me a phone call. He couldn't believe it. Like, he had all these children with my mother. He had 3 children with my mother, had other children. Matter of fact, he has children that I still haven't met. I mean, I've heard that he got like 12 children. I've been trying to track some people down and stuff like that. I think I'm the oldest son, but I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how many children this man had. Some people that I'm related to that I don't even know about. So, where was I at? So, yeah, he called me. Like, he had really distanced himself. Like, you know, him and my mom, they was just young people having a good time. You know, what they considered to be a good time, not realizing that some children could come from this good time. And I was one of those children that came from the good time that they was having. And he was shocked. And I was probably even more shocked because when I had a conversation with him, I realized this man is intelligent. Like, I wasn't expecting the level of intelligence that he had from the conversation. Now, he did ask me, he said, did I learn anything from him? And I'm like, I'm sorry, but no. And it was still some anger talking. And maybe I've learned something from him. I had to process a little bit, but I told him, I said, you taught me what not to do. You taught me what not to do. And that hurt him, of course. And that was my hurt speaking to him. But in learning that he was intelligent, I began to learn that, you know, he went through a lot, you know, drug addiction. He was addicted his entire life. Alcoholism, from being a teenager addicted to drugs. I believe he was a teenager when he was addicted to drugs. Being a high school dropout. My mom, she didn't make it through school either. I was the first university graduate in the family. I've tried to be a role model, but you know, my dad, you know, may he rest in peace. I say that now and mean it. He went through a lot. So my challenge in life was to make sure that the apple do fall from it, far from the tree, and the apple roll, you know, falling and keep on rolling up the road, you know, up the road. So growing up, grandmother died. Mama Nettie Mae Williams, she was a Southern woman. Papa Frank Washington, who, you know, they were Mississippi people. I did my family roots. I definitely recommend that people do that, research their family roots. But Mama Nettie Mae Williams, she was a Southern church woman, wore her white gloves on the front row. She's one of the mothers of the church. She ring the past out if she needed to.
On the usher board.
What you say, bro?
On the usher board with the white gloves.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it wasn't even church without the gloves. Like she had to have the gloves, right?
And the butterscotch candy.
That's right. And peppermint. The peppermint. You did right. It was the peppermint. Yeah, man.
Yes.
But my grandfather, he Papa Frank, he never really went to church. Um, he would stay home, cook and clean. You know, he's a Southern man. You know, Southern hospitality. But he would just a little bit. He would stay home and cook and clean. But Mama Nettie, she was like my spiritual connection in this world in a lot of ways. Like we talk about, sometimes we get so conscious as Black folk that we look down on our Christian Southern ancestry, not realizing that that's the backbone that a lot of us get. So in a lot of ways, she was a spiritual woman, not only a religious woman, but a very spiritual woman. And so she gave me a lot of what I became in what became a more and more dysfunctional family after her passing. So I was 7 years old when she passed, and they was like, I'm an Eddie. She's gonna get better. She gotta get better. She's gonna get better. And we all prayed. Everybody prayed, and she didn't get better. She died, and I became, in my mind, quote unquote, an atheist for a minute, or at least I thought I was an atheist. And so at that point, that's when things began to slowly spiral out of control for my family after Mama Nettie's passing. Pop Frank, he, again, Southern Mississippi man. He drank already, but he like just really spiraled and began to divulge more into the habits, indulged more into the habits of his alcoholism. I mean, he just stayed, but it was his depression, it was his coping. He had his whole life was with this woman. So he for some reason we ended up moving, and we moved to 28th and Congress from 47th and King Drive. I was born on Campbell near Rockwell Gardens. So already in this time, we've like 3 different parts of the city. We moved to Congress, and we eventually, family was separated. Children were separated. And it wasn't, I mean, you could say we were being neglected maybe, but it wasn't abuse. Right. I mean, neglect in the sense that we was living on welfare. We was living on government, my children will never eat government cheese. I don't know.
Man, that block cheese was the best grilled cheese. I wish I could find me some of that.
It was good grilled cheese.
I wish they sold that in the store, man. Hey, look, if it wasn't good for eating, it was good for a weapon, man. You could knock somebody the next week with that.
Knock somebody out with that. You could throw that across the street, hit him in the head like a brick with that cheese.
And that peanut butter was good too, man. I don't care what nobody
said. Peanut butter.
Had the oil on the top, came in the can.
Right.
Hey, look, I ate that stuff too, man.
What about the milk? The powdered milk, I bet you didn't drink that. Nobody liked the powdered milk.
Man, that was on my Frosted Flakes in the morning. I don't care.
I could not drink that milk. But what I would do, I used to I would so I did the water in the cereal.
Did that. Better put some water in that.
All of my sisters and brothers thought I was weird, but one of the best tasting things in the world to me was a mayonnaise sandwich. It didn't have no lettuce on it. It didn't have no meat on it.
A king syrup.
It was just mayo and bread, and I mean that it tasted good to me.
And a king syrup sandwich.
The syrup. Oh man, that was dessert. That was dessert.
Shoot, man. Hey, look. You could grow up poor and feel rich. I don't care what nobody say.
Right. We learned generosity because we would give each other the last food on our plate to make sure that everybody ate. And to this day, like I'm a giving person. Like I'm not attached to material things. Like I'm just giving. Like it's just who I am. And I definitely learned that. Like you could grow up without and be the stingiest in the world and fight over the food, but we just was not like that. Like Now we would raid the pantry when my grandmother left.
Yeah.
She would have to she put these locks on the pantry door. And I don't know if it was me or my brother first, but one of us learned if you take a butter knife and you hold it on the knife end, you don't want to use the real knife, of course. And if you hold a padlock the right way and you hit it hard enough, we got so good, man. I was so good with this. I just had to hit it one time and I would pop it like that. I would clink and it would pop right open. I got good with that. And we would raid the pantry, bro. And then she locked the refrigerator. I mean, the deep freezer too. We would raid it when she would walk out, and then we'd be on watch out. And one time, my brother, he's in there cooking. Like, he just got bold. Like, as he got older, he got bold. Like, he's cooking up a whole dinner for himself. And I'm out the window, and I was like, what would happen if I ran back there? And I said, Grandma's coming, Grandma's coming. So I got him. She wasn't coming, and I went taking off. Grandma's coming, she's coming, she's coming. And he started rushing and trying to wash stuff. And I was just cracking up. She wasn't coming at all. But yeah, man. So we grew up. Family got separated. We ended up in foster care. I ended up running away from foster home, and I started selling drugs. And I got involved with gangs on the streets of Chicago. And this was in from 7th grade. It started getting a little troublesome. I failed 6th grade. By the time I hit 8th grade, I was in a gang. I don't say the gang I was in. It's the same gang that most of my family members were in. The reason that I don't say it, anybody from Chicago understands it, is that people don't consider you to be unassociated with the gang if you're in a gang. Now, brothers that I ran with on the streets, they respect me. And they understand that. They don't even try to associate me with it out of respect. So I earned that type of respect. But a lot of brothers like, you lead a gang, they'll still greet you. Like, what you mean? You still in the gang? What you talking about? You not in the gang? You in the gang, bro. You still with us. You still roll with us. And I definitely don't. And I don't, it's no love lost for them. But the funny thing is that I was in one gang and I lived in a neighborhood in another gang. Now, if you're an athlete, you get a level of respect. So in the new neighborhood where I was quote unquote opposition, I had some of my best friends when we were in opposite gangs. Now, you're supposed to be rolled on. My first day in this new school, I had a fight with Marnez Jones. First day in school. He walks up to me, he's like, who you? What set you represent? What you represent? I'm like, man, you don't know me. Who are you? And he's like, I'm Marnez Jones. I'm Marnez. I'm like, I don't care about no Marnez. So we got the scuffling in the middle of the school. And then like, I'm just thinking this is just another fight. And all of a sudden, the whole school was talking about this new kid. He had a fight with Marnez. I'm like, well, who the hell is Marnez? Come to find out, the boy controlled the whole damn neighborhood. Could have had me crushed like in an instant. And so he respected me because I fought him. And nobody had fought him because of who he was. And became my best friend, man. Unfortunately, he lost his life 16 years old. He got shot and killed. Got his whole back shot up with an Uzi over a whole unnecessary, stupid situation, which is what happens with a lot of people growing up. But so you know, that was where it all started. That ain't even the worst of it. I ended up I gotta think of what I can talk about. What I can't talk about. I was charged with breaking into an auto. The judge was trying to give me armed robbery, assault and armed robbery. Judge was trying to give me that. I had some solicitation charges for watching out. Like when I say solicitation, I gotta like be specific. Like I'm talking about watching out. I don't mean solicitation.
Yeah,
but
right.
We were people would like stand guard. Like you sell drugs, somebody's watching out. And then you switch. Like one person is not selling, Now I'll be sad. And it was in shifts. It was like sick, man. Like the streets was like I don't think the streets today are as organized as they were in the 90s. But they was unsafe, deadly, and brothers was just giving their whole lives to it, man. Still are. And then I got some gun charges, drug possession case. And man, what time? Let me make sure I'm monitoring the time. So here I am. I became a high school dropout. I dropped out of school because I had a physical altercation with a teacher who was also the football coach, Coach Scott. His son was one of the best players in the school at the time. So I'm like, I'm not going to school. What am I gonna worry about school for? You know what I mean? School is not for me. I had some background, look, the charges that I had, and I got caught with some medicine.
Medicine.
Some substance abuse charges, but I was a first-time nonviolent offender at the time, and I got tied up in this program. I was just trying to find out who started. I think it was Bobby Rush, but this program literally saved my life. I became a client of Comprehend Youth Services, Comprehend Youth and Women's Services, which was a counseling agency and a substance abuse agency. And I indulged in a couple of different things that I shouldn't have been indulging in as a teenager. I don't drink, I don't smoke nothing, don't snort nothing, don't inject nothing today. But I did my share of stuff that I shouldn't have been doing. I don't want to go into details about it. So I met David McCaskill, who he just talked straight to me. He's like, "What you doing, man? You just destroying your life. You just wasting your life. You too smart to be so stupid."
Right.
He wasn't afraid to talk honest to young people. And he's like, you're just gonna be in the gutter or in the prison. You're just wasting your life. Why? It's a lot that you could do if you put your mind to it. And he said one time to me, he said, you can achieve anything that you want if you just decided that you want to. You're making stupid decisions because you're not. And I'm like, no. You don't understand. You don't understand where I come from. It's like, no matter where you come from, no matter where you're going. You can talk about where you come from all day. So, okay, so you come from the hood. Okay, you come from a dysfunctional family. Okay, you had no male role models in your family. You had drug addiction, substance abuse in your family. Okay, but where are you going? And that was always his message. It was just clear cut, no excuses, to the point where it would like piss me off. Like I didn't even want to talk to him. I like, come on somewhere. What are you talking about? Like, I would get angry, but it was the truth. And he just kept talking that same consistency. So he became, from being my counselor and my substance abuse counselor, to being my mentor and my father figure. And it was because of him that I returned to high school. I did not care about semi-vocational high school. I was done with it. So he convinced me to at least try to go back when I did not want to. But he told the school that I was 100% in favor of going back, which I was not. I'm going back to the streets. I'm going to hit the streets. So he got me back in school, and I ended up getting locked up. This is when I got locked up. Judge Eugene Strayhorn. I got charged with, I pled no contest to a burglary auto. But charges were trying to be upgraded to armed robbery. And I was in the bullpen after spending about a month and a half, maybe 2 months in the county. And that was just a little information about that. So I walked in the county, throwing up gang signs, knew people from the street. They was actually trying to give me rank, like walking through the door. And so I just kind of like sat out and sat back, kind of watched things, all of the rumors about, assault and rape and everything. Here I am 16, I'm going into the county. I'm like, what am I walking into? So I just sit back and I'm watching. And David McCaskill, he sent me the first book he sent me was, I want to say it was Chains and Images of Psychological Slavery by Naeem Akbar. And I remember sitting in front of my cell, E1. Was it tier 3, I believe, Cook County, lower deck level, sitting in front of my cell reading. And I was constantly, at that point, that was it. I was just constantly reading. So I'm reading and I learn about slavery. I learn about the Middle Passage. I learned about our ancestors, how we were stripped from our land. And then he sent me Malcolm X's autobiography. And I did join the Nation of Islam. I was about to become a Muslim after reading about Malcolm X's life story. But in reading in his life story, I began to understand how what we call the hood was formed. Like, reading about Malcolm X began to help me understand how my conditions shaped who I became. Right. So just like, Marnez is one of my friends who was killed. It was Orlando Jones and others as well. But what it taught me was that like all of them could have become something too. And I'm where I am. I'm in front of cell door E1 because of conditions. So it's the conditions that shaped so many young people in this society. So then he sent me Stephen B. Oates' biography of Dr. King, Let the Trumpets Sound. And then I was thinking about being a Christian. And then I'm going back to my Christian roots of my mom. So, and at one point, like I was kind of hanging around the Muslim brothers in the county. Then at another point, I was kind of hanging around the Christian. I didn't know, like, I'm just trying to figure out the world. And so I just didn't associate myself with anybody. I just like, okay, I need to learn more. So I was constantly reading. And a lot of the old inmates had the most respect for that, bro. They had the utmost respect for that. I mean, I knew how to use my hands from the street, and I had recognition from coming from the area that I came from and knowing people that I was with. But I was most respected because I was constantly reading in Cook County Jail. Mostly respected for that. And unfortunately, out of this, I think the tier was made for like less than 100. There's like 200 people on the tier. I think I was the only one reading. We had brothers from all over Chicago. We had, it was a good number of Hispanic brothers. We had some whites. We had the major two factions of Chicago street gangs. And all of the time, I was like the only one reading. There's a lot of illiteracy in prison. A lot of brothers are illiterate. And that goes back to their conditions, failed schools, dysfunctional families, but can we put some things in play? And this is what I've dedicated, and this is the second half of my life. This is what I've dedicated my life to. Are there things that we could put in place to help people overcome their conditions? And I say yes. I say hell yes. I say that it is absolutely possible that regardless of our background, I mean, now look, you're dealing with a kid who didn't have his father, dysfunctional mother, dysfunctional home, involved with drugs, abuse, distribution, involved with crime and, gun possession charges, high school dropout, right? Felony background. I had all of this.
Right.
I'm technically I'm not even supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be having this conversation. I'm supposed to be a statistic. I'm supposed to be an inmate, high school dropout and all of that stuff, gang member. So with all of those odds, is it possible that we could take a young person, young man or young woman, and have them overcome those odds? I say yes. I say hell yes.
A young black man at that.
What you say, bro?
A young black man at that.
Oh man, how can I leave that out? Yes, black in this society of white racism, everything against you strikes on your back just because of the way you look. Like, what the hell? Like, that racism thing, I don't know if you want to get too far off subject, but racism, bro, it's a nasty, ugly. Donald Trump showed us that racism is stupid. That's the one thing that I want to thank Donald Trump for that. He showed us that racism is stupid as I don't know what. Like, you got to be dumb to hate people. Like, so you're supposed to be better than Barack Obama because you're white. we see how that turned out, right?
Yeah, we definitely saw how that turned out.
Yeah. So, where am I at here in this long story? So I leave county, speaking with David Mukasa by phone, collect calls. You know, he allowed me the opportunity to speak with him as frequently as I wanted, pretty much. And sometimes he cut the calls, because of life. And so he got me back in school, and he became my father figure, man. So I'm like, if I'm not in the streets, David, how am I gonna live, man? Like, this is like, I wasn't like, you got some people who they got families that'll take care of them, and they're not in the street. Like, I knew a lot of cats that were selling drugs because it was just what was around them. And they in gangs. Not like, I had sisters that I needed to protect, but I mean, I was in a gang because my family was in a gang. But drugs was how I ate. It's how I clothed myself. And I'm like, David, if I'm not in the street, what am I supposed to do? How am I gonna eat? So he said, well, you eat lunch at school, right? You get free lunch at school. I was like, yeah. He said, so you need to eat that. I'm like, I gotta eat the school lunch. And then he said, for breakfast, I'm gonna leave my back door open. He said, I'm not gonna leave my front door open. I'm gonna leave my back door open. And it will be, he said, what's your favorite food? Peanut butter jelly. Right? And I didn't get over that peanut butter jelly. He said, I'm gonna leave my back door open. It will be a peanut butter jelly sandwich with your transportation money for the day or a couple of days or the week, but I'll make sure it's enough each day. So I felt like I'm breaking into the house, right? I'm breaking in. I'm like looking around, who's looking at me? And so I would eat that peanut butter jelly sandwich. Glass of milk, whatever's in the fridge, just make sure you're on time for school. And I got the little money. It was like $1.75 then, or $1.25, $1.50, whatever it was. And I would get to school, get back. I would go home, do my work. And that was my routine. Sneaking in his back door to get my peanut butter jelly sandwich and, get my ass to school and do my work. And I graduated. Simeon Vocational High School. If not, so we all need to believe in young people, right? That's important. We need to believe in young people because, I was a kid on the corner with my pants hanging down, all times at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I was the knucklehead, daring you to say something to me. That was me. But here's somebody who wasn't afraid of me, who believed in me, and who loved me like a father, to tell me the truth, like, you are a waste of your own time and your own brain cells. Like, so I had that, and he did that. And I graduated Simeon Vocational High School, and I ended up 4 years after that, I moved into the dormitory. And there's a whole lot more to that story. That's the short version. But I moved to the dormitory at Chicago State. I majored in Black Studies. And I was driven. Like, failure was not an option. Like I got the lessons that he was trying to teach me. I do want to give recognition to my uncle, Uncle Willie, who was there in a number of ways as well. But David Mukasa, the fact that he was my father figure. But I had an uncle who tried to steer me best he could as well. But I was hard-headed. I was hard-headed. And I was driven. By the time I got to college, like, my goal with our history and our culture, like, I literally wanted to learn everything and every lie that was told, because I felt that all of those lies that were told was a part of why I became what I was. When I was talking to my probation officer, I can't think of his name right now. I wish I could remember his name at the moment. My judge was Eugene Strayhorn, who died. he gave me an assignment to research Thurgood Marshall, the lawyer, when he came to the bullpen before I went to plead no contest to the charges because they was about to slam me with extensive prison time. But so I pled the no contest to the verdict to the auto. When I was in the bullpen reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, the lawyer, public defender, and money for no lawyer. The public defender said, in all of the years that I have been a public defender, and all of the years coming back here, I have never seen anybody reading in the bullpen. I'm in the bullpen with murderers. I'm in the bullpen with armed robbers, drug dealers, and I'm just one among them, no better than anybody. And there's one white guy, I remember, though, sleeping on the floor. He was happy that he got life, and he was happy that he got life with possibility of, I think, 25 to life, something like that. He had the possibility of getting out of prison one day. He was just happy, but he was sleeping on the concrete floor. Murder.
They had the death penalty in Illinois.
I don't know if they had the death penalty, but he was happy that he could get out of prison one day. So, just roughly, he's sleeping on a pissy concrete floor in the bullpen. So, public defender came back there and he said, "I'm gonna talk to this judge for you." He's, I don't know what it is about you, but you're reading a book in the bullpen. Like, people back in the bullpen worried about how many years they're about to go away, worried about, and the judge, Eugene Strayhorn, had a reputation of slamming people. Went before him and he gave me an assignment on Thurgood Marshall. That was the assignment. And, I kind of looked him up in the news. He's deceased now, but that was that assignment and the work of David, the books that he gave me, is a part of why I became a Black Studies major. And so I graduated in 99 from Chicago State University in Black Studies. I was a kid that was a high school dropout. I went on to get 2 master's degrees. And don't get me wrong, there's a whole lot of people that are educated fools. It's people who got education, got degrees up the wazoo, and don't do anything for our community. So I'm not here saying that, my degrees are what make me successful. I don't believe that. I'm successful, I almost got to say, in spite of my degrees, because part of what I do is I give back to my community, and that's more important than degrees. We have people in economics and we have a community that's starving for economic talent. But these people go and get degrees in economics, and they go off and work for,
a big firm.
Banks. And that's fine. But what are you doing with the resources and with that talent? We get people to get degrees in political science, and we have the politics that we're dealing with in our community. Like, where's the relevance of your and some of these people come from communities like me. But so I went into education. I went into Black Studies. One of my masters is in educational leadership. The second one is in education. Excuse me. And my doctorate is in education. I specifically wanted to get the degrees so that I could help the community. Like, can my education be relevant to my community, relevant to young people who are like me? Now, looking back in retrospect, I understand now that that's not the only way, but that was one way. And I'm doing other things with my life now, if we have time, some things that I'll go into. But so this idea that just because you come from the hood and you got some degrees, that don't mean shit. That only means, excuse my language, that only mean but so much. It's what you are doing, whether you have degrees or not. Right? So I don't, like, you call me Mukasa, like, we talking and you be like, Doc. I'm like, bro, don't call me Doc, man. I ain't Doc to you. I'm your brother, man. Don't call me Doc. So, it's about what we're doing. That's what's important. And if it's more David McCaskills, we can have more people who are able to turn their lives around. So I went into education to work with young people like the young man that I was. And, I've been able to touch the lives of thousands of young people in education. Some I've been able to turn around. I have some students that are doctors and lawyers. I have some students that are teachers. But I also have some students that are inmates. I have some students. I haven't been able to reach everybody, but I just know that I put my heart out and I try to reach these young people the best that I can. My doctorate is from Gwinnett Mercy. I earned it in 2017. My dissertation is on rites of passage. It's publicly available online. Dr. Mukasa Mayat, WordPress.com, or either .wordpress.com, but it's easy to find. Dissertation defense and the dissertation is online. Rites of passage is what David McCaskill took me through without calling it rites of passage. Rites of passage is what we as fathers take our children through, or what our wives take our children. It's the process of teaching young people about becoming young men, boys about becoming young men and men, girls about becoming young women and women. That's what rites of passage is. But the idea of it in a school setting is to make it formal, because I didn't learn rites of passage in school, but I ended up in a program where I gained a mentor. People who mentor young people are teaching them rites of passage. I don't know if you want to read any of these questions. I could take a minute, Brother Terrence, if you want to. I know it's been a few questions coming up. I haven't been reading.
I've only seen one. This is the first one I've seen.
Yeah, I saw some comments popping up at one point. Go ahead. What you say, bro?
They were mostly talking to each other.
Okay. You got it.
How can we help each other on a personal level in these trying times?
Oh man, we got to, one, if you got love, if we got love for each other, then that's the first step. If we got respect, you can't have love without respect, though. If we got love, we got respect for each other, then that's the first step. And then we got to build bridges. I was in a meeting. It wasn't even about stock market trading. And then come to find out, half the people in the meeting trading in stocks. So, how can we network with that? I'm a martial artist. I built my own martial arts system called Move, trained about somewhere between 1,200 and 1,500 people, primarily in and around the city of Philadelphia. But prior to that, I would talk to people and find out half the people I know know some type of martial arts or boxing or something. And how can we network that? And
most of the people
find that out. What's it, bro?
Most of the people in this chat are members of some form of combat sport channel or network. You got everybody in here I met from a boxing channel. Just about everybody here, except I got a childhood friend here. It's Yours Radio. It's a disc jockey.
Right.
Started a media company.
Good business. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean about resources. We got all these resources that we don't tap into enough. We don't tap. Bro, it's just a little African necklace. This is Jamaican necklace with African symbols tied into it. Just a little cultural necklace. And just wear a little culture here and there. I just respond to that comment. But yeah, so back to that question, we have to tap into our resources. But now, so we need love between each other. We need respect between each other, but we also need character. That's extremely important. So we can't come to the table missing those. If we're dealing with business, if you're dealing with business as a family, you know what they say about don't do business with family. But we should be able to build intergenerational wealth and business. Today in stock trading, I had a horrible day in stocks. Well, I didn't have a horrible day. I'm holding the stock over because I don't know if you're following it, but Robinhood, they froze buying on several stocks on Apple, CTRM, on a few other stocks, right? So they froze the buying on stocks, and appreciate that, Brother Ray. They froze the buying on stocks, so I had to hold. Now the fact that's Black Anonymous, one's character is important. Shout out to Black Anonymous, the great the great Black Anonymous. Always in reviewing anything that I'm saying online. Yeah, so all right, so I just got to mention this real quick. So the reason that the stocks got frozen, you might have been hearing this in the news, is because it's so many individual investors like myself who are not millionaires, not yet. That's the goal.
Right.
It's a lot more of us now, and we're driving the price of stocks up. But a lot of the hedge funds make money on the price of stocks falling. It's called shorting the stock, where you buy the stock, you buy it high, you sell it low, and you take the difference on the stock. Proud of our people putting the purpose before the profit. Yes, absolutely, Queen Asia.
That's a guy.
Oh, I'm sorry, bro. I'm sorry. My apologies, bro. Asia. I just saw Asia. Like, my apologies. My apologies, black man. My apologies, black man. That's Terrence laughing harder than I'm laughing. No, I'm not laughing hard. So, all right. So they froze the stocks on Robinhood. They froze the stock that I was in. So I'm holding my stock long. Now what's going to happen is that it's going to be a news catalyst when they reopen the stock, and the stock is going to shoot up, and I'm going to make profit off of it. But my wife might get on my nerves sometimes, but I was very happy with her today because she went to the bank on the stocks today. I mean, she had 3-4 straight profit swings on the stocks today. I'm like, babe, you did good today because I didn't make any money. So
I need to start getting in on that. But
bro, I'm telling you, man. Yeah. So that's my next. So I've earned a doctorate. I have books. I have ebooks. I have free books. I have essays. I've achieved that goal. I wanted to become a teacher, husband, father. Achieved it. My next goal, Terrence, is to be a millionaire, bro. That's straight up. I said I was asked to be a part of this meeting, and they asked me what I wanted to do. What's my next goal? What do I want to accomplish? I said to be a millionaire. They looking at me like I'm crazy, but not realizing that I got a plan. I got a serious plan. This stock business, it's people that have made millions in stocks. You can look a lot of these stock traders up. But the thing about stocks is that people have to put the homework in first. And a lot of people go in with money without the right profit loss ratio. So the little money that people are risking their lives on the street to make, the nonsense, the ignorance that I was doing as a teenager, I'm trying to get these brothers to understand that what you're risking your life for over a week, over 2 weeks, can be made in 10 minutes on stock exchange. Like, if brothers understand that, like, the one thing about these young brothers on the street is they got hustle and they understand economics. They understand supply and demand, right? They got that down. They understand the math of cutting profits. They understand distribution. But it's all college level business economics. But where is the talent? It's in the street.
that's one thing
The problem.
That's one thing I never. That's one thing I never understood. Right? You can't you can't be a dumb dope dealer and become a kingpin. Those guys that the ATF and the marshals will be chasing after, the big guys. Those guys are talented businessmen.
Yeah.
Now imagine if they took that and went the other way with it.
Exactly.
These guys would be Fortune 500 company CEO type guys because if you're doing that on the street, not only do you have to make the money, but you gotta avoid law enforcement and this that and the other. Right. That's a different kind of talent.
Yeah.
If you took that and went the other way,
bro,
imagine what you could be doing.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You could this same dude could probably run Bill Gates out of business.
100%. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This dude could be Jeff Bezos.
Yeah.
He probably could run Amazon out of business.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he want to push. You know, he want to push. I've never understood that since a teenager. I've never understood that.
Bro, that's my next goal in life. All right, so I got a lot of other things behind me, but my next goal right now is to show our people, to show these young people, it is vast amounts of wealth on the market. It's just a matter of, number one, knowing that we got a right to that, like anybody else. We got a right to trade stocks like anybody else. Number two is just, can we get the technical skill? But like you just said, like I said, these brothers on the street, they have every bit of business sense that anybody earning a bachelor's or a master's in economics, microeconomics, macroeconomics, business, and they are dealing with all of that. Matter of fact, even more so than somebody at the university, they're dealing with it in real life, because a lot of the profit margin that they have to make is their food on the table. Here's the myth about drug dealers that people need to understand. Here's the myth. 99% of drug dealers are struggling financially. All right, that 1%, the flashy 1%, that's the people with the cars and stuff on the street. Most of these young drug dealers are being manipulated and used. They're catching cases because they're minors, whereas the providers of the drugs, the distributors,
the
kingpins, the distributors, they have felony backgrounds, so they can't get caught. If they get charged, they're going away 5, 10, 20 years. So you got these young cats that admire them, look up to them on the street, is misplaced values. And if they get 1 or 2 charges, 3 or 4 charges, it's as a minor. They're not going anywhere. They'll be in and out of juvie hall in a week, in a month. Right?
It's not even that one. It's not even that one though, Mukasa, because that one that's supplying the little one on the street, he's getting his from the guy that you never see.
Freaking Colombia, Mexico, somewhere. Yeah,
the ghost. That guy. He's a ghost.
Mm-hmm. Who, and that's where the real money is being made.
He's moving metric tons.
Right, because ain't nobody in Philly, DC, New York own a coca field, a poppy field. None of them own a opioid manufacturing company. Right, so it's at the tail end. So you're absolutely right. But now what they are doing, I don't want to say right, but what they know is they know business.
Right.
Like I mean, they're being used on the street. They're making a little money. Like what you see a drug dealer wearing or driving, that's everything that they have. They don't have no big stashes anywhere. Like they live in what is it? Hand to foot to whatever this hand is. They live in hand to mouth, and it's fast money, easy come, easy go. They might have $500 today. They might be broke tomorrow. They smoked half of it up, used half of it up, threw the rest of it away on a pair of $200 shoes for them, and another pair of $200 shoes for the girl. Because you got to have a girl if you're in the hood. You're not respected if you don't have a woman. So you done threw all your money away. The $500 you got today that you was flashing on your Instagram, you're broke tomorrow. That's just the reality of the street. But what is some things about business that they know: supply, demand, distribution, right? The stress of having to make it happen with everything else around you. Now, the problem is that it's conditions. Going back to the conditions, they're born in a society with everything against them. They're born into a society of racism and capitalism and everything against them. Now, but if they recognize that, if they understand that, and if they understand that you could make in the first 30 minutes on the stock market what you're risking your life for, I guarantee you, if we could get that message across, we could get a whole lot of these brothers off the street and onto the stock market or into business or into real estate. It's just a matter of them understanding. Like, instead of flipping bricks, instead of flipping pills, you could flip houses. Like, if they understand, like, oh, you got all of these abandoned buildings in the hood, You walking past, you on the steps of the building, flipping drugs, risking your life, and you got equity in that property right behind you. Now, a lot of times you got more equity in that property than what you got in your pocket, risking your life to sell on the street. And then meanwhile, some white real estate bro, I'm not knocking them, real estate agent, I'm not knocking anybody for trying to do what they can do, but we can do that. We can teach these young people to do that. The white guy don't even live in the hood, won't even touch the steps, probably won't even see the property, is gonna purchase it at a deal, undervalued on the market, get a renovation loan in it, blow up the equity in the property, sell it off, and make 50, 60, $80,000 on the property, depending on the type of property it is. And that's what we have to teach. That's the thing that we have to learn. And that's missing in the schools. We got children learning math, learning algebra 2, trig, but they're not learning real estate. They're not learning stocks. They're not learning small business operations. Those are so the education needs to be overhauled.
Not even credit literacy.
Yes. Not even how to balance a household budget
or checkbook.
You're learning equations, but you're not learning how to balance a budget or a checkbook, how to manage a bank account, right? So that is a problem of education. It's not only a problem of our children not learning our history, and that's important too. But I argue that one of the failures of our communities is that we are not teaching them how to control and manage resources. And that's what we have to do. So where I'm at right now in life, I'm still in education, probably be in education the day I die. I don't know, I probably will. But where I'm at right now is what I call economic justice. So I'm in practice trades, real money. This is not simulated money. I'm trading right now tens of thousands of dollars on a weekly basis. But this is all practice money right now. I'm planning to get to the point when I put real money into it. I'm planning to trade hundreds of thousands of dollars on a weekly basis. I'm talking about maybe some months from now. Definitely this year, that's where I plan to be at. So when I say I plan to be a millionaire, I'm not joking, So I'm at my wife and I, and thank goodness, we've had our ups and downs. Thank goodness she didn't kick me to the curb and get rid of me. Thank goodness she didn't. But we have a beautiful marriage now. It took us some time to get here, but she's a great business partner. Beautiful mother, beautiful wife. But thankfully, I married a business partner, and I didn't even realize that. Because, like I said, I ended up in a hole on the stock that I was on, and she cleaned house today on 3 or 4 different stocks. So we decided that our children would definitely know how to trade stocks. Now, I'll eventually get back to some real estate transactions. I've been able to benefit from some real estate transactions. And that's what we got to teach, in addition to the history, in addition to the culture. The identity is important. What has slavery taken away from us? What do we need to recover as a people? We need to teach character. We need to teach young people. Sorry, that's my dog in the background. We need to teach young people about I don't want to say managing a family. What's the word I'm trying to use, Terrence? We need to teach young people about family values, because that's something that's a deficit in our community. We have a lot of men that walk away from their families. Those men hurt in doing that, right? Now, of course, it's no excuse for that, but internally, they don't want to. This is my argument. This is my position. And this is somebody who has his family together. But I say that the men that walk away from their families, it's not because they want to. It's because of conditions. It may be some mental things going on. It's definitely some economic things going on. But if education was relevant, education would teach and prepare people for for our people for all of the things that they will face in life. It is not relevant. It's not, our education is not relevant economically if everybody graduating looking for a job, can't find a job, no jobs are being built, no resources are being generated. I don't care how much math we learn. I don't care how much we learn how to balance equations and trigonometry, how much we learn about cosine and parables and parabolic equations. It doesn't matter how much we learn about all of that if our communities are still at an economic disadvantage. We need to correct history. All right, so this is specifically why I've become a history teacher over the years. I've been an education administrator as well of my own school, but none of that matters in education if at the end of the day, our children look in the mirror and they still seeing white, right? Or they look at blackness and they still seeing ugly. Good hair is not just hair, but it's hair that's more European. Like, so we have problems that we have to correct in so many different levels. Whether it's literature, whether it's math, our education system has to be overhauled. And in addition to that, Terrence, I got to mention this about education is that so we march and we protest on social justice issues, on political issues. School funding is a holdover from segregation that nobody is fighting for. Now, fortunately, with the administration that we have, if we pressure them on something, and that's what we need to do, just because we got rid of Trump don't mean that we don't need to pressure Biden, because we do. But one of the things that we have to do is our schools, Black and inner city schools, are funded at a much lower rate. Like, that's just natural big part of the problem. Like, if you have two schools, one white suburban, one Black inner city school, and if that white suburban school is funded twice as much as that Black inner city school, they're going to have more counselors. They're going to have higher paid teachers and better teachers. They're going to have better administrators. They're going to have some school, inner city schools don't forget a better library. They're going to have, they won't have a library at all. Whereas the more funded school will have something look like a college type library.
Oh, they got a media center.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? With skylights and stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and then we get on the children about what they're not learning, but we're not funding their schools equally or with equity, I should say. It should be with equity because they need not to just be funded equally, they need to be funded more because they're at a greater disadvantage. So difference between equality and equity is that equity is based on need. Equality is just, okay, they're funded the same. But is that based on need? Because that inner city school has a greater need for more funds. The reason that our schools are not funded properly is because of segregation. They segregated the schools and the white schools got more resources. And that is still happening right now today. We just don't call it segregation. But you, me, and everybody we know grew up in segregated schools. They just didn't call it. We were taught that segregation ended. But I be goddamn, segregation did not end. We grew up in financially segregated schools. Our schools were funded with less resources. Teachers were paid less. The buildings had less done in the physical maintenance of the buildings and the educational resources put into those schools. It was funded with less. That is educational segregation that we're still under right now today.
Well, I mean, you know that segregation never really went anywhere because segregation is just they just call it something else now. You know,
Right.
you
Yes, sir.
you go into a neighborhood and all of a sudden the atmosphere changes.
Yes.
And then the people, the way the people look changes.
Mm-hmm.
The
buildings change, the houses change, the lawns change,
the cleanliness changes.
the cleanliness change,
the police presence
stores change.
Yeah, liquor store, church, liquor store.
Uh-huh.
You know, that's still segregation. The tax structure changed. All that's still segregated. What I've seen it somewhere. I can't remember where I seen it. It was a white guy talked about you can't say N word. You can't say segregation. It was a guy. It was a guy from one of the southern states. It was a politician. he said, we can't say N word anymore, but he just saying the word straight out.
He's saying it, but saying you can't say it.
Yeah. He said we can't say that publicly anymore. So, and we can't call it segregation. So we have to say it another way. And he said, what did he say? What did he said? It was he said we have to call it tax cuts.
Mm.
He said we can't call it segregation. We have to call it tax cuts.
Right.
So that's the new segregation.
Yeah.
Tax cuts.
Yeah.
Because who gets them?
Food deserts. you
You know,
know,
that's
poverty wealth ratio. You don't call it segregation, you call it poverty wealth ratio.
Black economist said that was Lee Atwater.
Lee Atwater. Okay, I don't know him. Look him up though. Yeah, so bro, that's what we gotta do, man. We have to make education relevant. We have to discuss wealth redistribution more. That's what we need to co-invest in the hood. Yeah. So what you see happening right now in the stock market, in the news as we speak, is that hedge funds are fighting against private investors, individual investors, people that are working class investors, but it's so many of us. A lot more people got into the stock market. I mean, my wife and I, we've been studying it for a couple of years, but because of the pandemic and the lockdown, we had time to more so focus, and we jumped in. I wish I would have got into this years ago when we were looking at it, but more people have gotten in, and there's so many small investors that we are a challenge to the hedge funds, to the billionaires, and the several times over multi-filthy freaking rich millionaires. We are a challenge to them. So like I was saying, most of us make money on stocks going up, whereas the hedge funds, a lot of them make money on stocks falling. And so they halted. They didn't halt, they delisted several stocks. It happened with AMC. It happened with Apple, CTRM, and several other stocks. So for me, as a Black man in America, what I have to understand is that my people need to be in this stock war. We need to be part of this fight. But we're sitting back watching it instead of being a part of it and understanding how we can control it, influence it, and benefit from the wealth of it. So we need to redistribute wealth back into our community in a number of ways. Stocks is not the only way, but stocks is one of the ways. We just mentioned about taxes and also about education. So those are some of the things that we have to do. We have work ahead of us. We absolutely have work ahead of us. We have to become. My sister, I know she called it social media literacy. We're not literate on the influences of social media, and we often get tied into things that are counterproductive to our well-being, whether it be conspiracies about this virus or whether it be following some of these silly idiots.
Stop the steal garbage.
Yeah, stop the steal. Right. I mean, can you imagine that? They invade the freaking Capitol, insurrectionists. So we have to be able to read through all of the garbage. We have to be able to translate through the filth and take out of social media what's beneficial to us, which we are not able to do collectively. Collectively, we're not able to do that. You see the rise and fall. It's one person this year, somebody else the next year. These people that come in and rip our communities off. And then at the end, everybody found out that, oh, well, he was a profiteer. He was a con man.
He was a fraud.
But if we had the ability to read through that, it's so many resources that and I'm not talking about one person. There's a lot of people that fit. If anybody think I'm talking about one person, it's a lot of people that fit into these categories. And it's a lot of resources and a lot of time and a lot of energy from us not being able to do so. So it's a lot of work that we have, bro. It's a lot. But, the one thing that we have right is that, you know, we're trying to make sure that we pass on more of what we're doing to the generation that's behind us. And that's what it's about. You know, that's what we have to do.
I always look at it like this, man. If you don't leave something better than the way you found it, then you
Exactly. Yeah.
you messed up. We got two more questions, man. And we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here, man, because I'm getting hungry,
I ate already.
man. Look, I got some Chinese in my future. What
Oh
do you think?
yeah, yeah. You gotta get that. You gotta get that Chinese food for the missus.
Yeah, man. What are your thoughts on reparations? You think it ever happen?
Yes, I believe it will. Well, let me rephrase that. It can happen. It will only happen if we make it happen. It's not on a politician. Um, so one of the reasons that reparations is not a national debate, I mean, it becomes a national debate off and on, but the reason that reparations is not a national debate is because Democrats believe that it will make them lose influence among non-blacks and among independents. Specifically, it's studies on this, like mathematical studies that show that, like, so what a lot of people don't realize, like, when politicians take positions, they've done research. They have the lobbyists, their staff, they have people giving them polls and data on positions that they take. So these Republicans that still support Trump, the reason that they support him is not just because they're afraid of him, they are afraid of him, but it's because they know the polls and the data on their base and what their base will do and how much support they lose when they speak out against Trump. All right, so they don't take principal positions, they take political positions, right? So with reparations, what the Democrats have decided is that it's too much of a hot button issue for them to champion. So instead of championing it, they take the neutral position where they don't lose the black voters by speaking against it, because you don't hear them doing that. But they don't speak for it, and by not speaking for reparations, they maintain the independent vote and the non-black Democratic vote. So what we got to do is make it a platform issue for us. If you don't support reparations, you do not get our vote, period. If the independents are saying, if you support reparations, you don't get our vote, we got to draw the line. If you don't support reparations, you don't get our vote. Now, the question is, who will influence the election? Right. Who got Joe Biden elected? We did. Yep. Who got Barack Obama elected? We did. So independents, as far as I'm concerned, don't have as strong as political clout and power and influence that we have. The problem is that we're not using it. So when we make reparations a platform issue, just like the 2008 stimulus package for Barack Obama, which saved the economy. I have some critique about it, but it saved the economy.
Saved the auto industry.
Saved the auto industry, pulled the country out of recession. I give him credit for that. He was a great president. I have some critiques. And we have to know that we can be nuanced. Like, just because you have critiques, that doesn't mean that you're 100% in favor. And just because you give people credit where it's deserved, the man deserved credit. He saved the country. The Affordable Health Care Act got tens of millions of more people on health care. That was an achievement of his. But at the same time, we could still critique the things that we don't like. One of the criticisms I have is that the 2008 stimulus package was corporate driven instead of worker class driven. All right, but at the same time, it did what he wanted it to do. It helped save the economy.
Well, it's like a conversation we had, me and you talked the other day, and we were talking about presidents. It's hard to talk about what a president, how good a president is while they're still in office. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because while they're in office, you know what I'm saying, there's a lot of emotion. Right. Unless, you know what I'm saying, it's better to address their presidency after they leave, when the emotion is gone. Exactly. Unless it's somebody who's completely terrible.
Trying to spread a virus through the country.
Yeah, I mean, with Trump, I mean, that was something different. But but he's still gonna be better off. His policies, and other things that will become public knowledge that are not now or haven't been, that will be once more time passes while he's out of office. So he'll be judged more thoroughly after he's out of
Yeah,
office.
yeah, true, absolutely. Yeah, people will be able to see. Hindsight is 2020, right?
Yeah.
And that's why And when we had the conversation, what I was saying is that I don't praise I'm not praising Biden, not yet. I'm not praising Biden.
He ain't done it to
You know,
praise.
because he's in pride. I acknowledge that he defeated Trump, and I'm thankful for that. But I'm not saying I'm a Biden fan. In retrospect on Obama, same thing we're saying is that now we can judge him. But when he was in office, and honestly, I was too critical of Obama. I acknowledge that.
Ask me about Biden in 5 years. That's what I said.
Exactly. So, but back to reparations. So what I'm saying is that just like all of that money went for the stimulus package, and then we've had 2 stimulus checks passed. We're talking about trillions of dollars here. We're talking about trillions of dollars. None of that meets. That's barely a down payment on reparations, right? I'm gonna acknowledge that, because when you talk about reparations, you're talking about something that was systemic. You're talking about something that affected our people in multifaceted ways.
200 years of free labor and overtime,
generation after generation. So a check don't do that. A check does not correct that.
and
right?
physical abuse and rape.
We're talking about emotional trauma. We're talking about something that affected our economics, our education, our politics. We were, we were segregated from the political process. We were segregated economically, enslaved. We gave wealth. So when we say what reparations, like, what is it and how is it correct? All of the ways that segregation and slavery damaged us is all of the ways that reparations will have to repair us, right? So it's like multifaceted in a number of different ways. But what we have to do as a people, we have to make it an issue. Now, the fact is that most of us, people have taught us that we shouldn't even talk about slavery. Some of us, some black folk, some racists too, I don't want to talk about that reparation stuff. Well, why not? Because the Jews still talk about the Holocaust, and they say never forget, and they should. I'm not knocking them for it. They should be like, we will never forget the Holocaust. We want all of our just due for what we suffered. So, and we went through so much more. So many more of us died for over such a much longer period. But one of the reasons that we don't like to discuss it is because of the trauma that we are still experiencing, the trauma that has been passed down. Studies that show that a child inherits some of the trauma from their parents, even when they were not physically in the world, that the trauma is passed on. So what slavery is intergenerational trauma passed on. So when people are in denial, like when you look at, who is that, Steve Harvey, he used to crack jokes about slavery. But when he went to the slave dungeon, I think it was Elmina, when he went to the slave dungeon, he said he physically felt it. He was crying. The man was hunched over crying. But this is somebody who used to joke about it. He said if somebody bring up slavery, like, he'd crack a joke and just get off the subject and walk away. That was his way of coping with the trauma. But when he got there, he broke down. He broke down when it hit him. So we have to make reparations an issue. And we got to make it an issue where, so it takes education on one part. We have to educate our people into understanding the significance of it, because we don't know. And a lot of people are in straight denial about it and defensive against it. And you can't even talk to them about it. So we got to make it an issue. And then we have to make it a platform issue where if you're a politician and if you don't support reparations, you don't get our vote. Period. Cut straight. If we do that, then we have people talking about it. So when you look back on the Democratic primaries, when you had all of the Democrats running to see who would become the general candidate against Trump, they was talking about reparations. They was talking about it because it was being pushed. Now it's taking a backseat because of the virus, the pandemic, the lockdown, and all of that stuff is, maybe you could argue that it's somewhat reasonable, but we have to, it's not going to become an issue if we don't make it an issue. This last thing I'll say, I don't want to belabor the point too long. I know you gotta get that Chinese food for the missus. This is the last thing I would say about it is that if we don't make it an issue, it won't become an issue, and we have to remain steadfast about that, right? We have to remain stead. We have to push it. If it's not pushed, it won't. I lost the thought in that process, but it's
Yeah. Um. Real quick. The Harriet Tubman $20 bill replacing Andrew Jackson.
yeah.
It should have been done in the last administration, but they threw it up on the shelf. Now the issue's resurfacing, and now you got some folk saying, well, why it's got to be Harriet? This and another. What? Oh, and you got some saying, well, that's not enough. We don't care about that. That's not doing nothing for. I'm like, okay, when Obama was going to do it, everybody was all for it. Okay, now we've been through this last 4 years of this last president, and now it's not enough. And now, okay, why it's got to be Harriet Tubman? Why can't it be somebody else? I'm like, look, just
who are they saying it should be?
Man, I have no idea. I think it's just just some individuals that some type of people that you're not going to.
I'm sorry, bro. Let me let these dogs out real quick. Just be 1 second.
Okay. Dang, is he stepping on the dog? What's up, D-Ray? Unique Dawn. J Blues Radio.
Let the dogs out real quick.
Yeah, man. I think it's just people just having something to say. I don't know. I don't get it.
It's important. It's an important move. It's more than just symbolic. It represents a shift in the country. It's about power. The fact that could be done. It's about legacy. It's about honoring not only her, but the struggle from the era of history that she's a part of. And it's a start. It's not to finish. Like, because we got slaveholders on the other money. We still have racist monuments and the schools and names. Like, all of that's power. Like, when our ancestors were enslaved, one of the first things that they would do is they would strip you of your name. It's symbolic, but it's a representation of power.
And who's better to remove from the money than Andrew Jackson?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's a whole lot of them that need to be removed. Like George Washington himself.
Yeah, well, I would say I would remove Jackson first, though.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
you know what I mean?
I'm just saying it's more than, like, you can say, well, what difference is it? Excuse me, you say, what difference is that gonna make? What difference does it make when slaveholder gives us their name? When we take the name when they strip us of our African name and we take the name of the slave, what difference does that make? When they strip us of our language, we talking in English for a reason. So it's a show of power. It's domination and it's power. So what we have done is that we voted a white supremacist out of office, right? We voted this white supremacist out of office. We voted the person in office that we want with a specific mandate about certain things. We have a mandate about the Affordable Health Care Act. We have a mandate about the virus. We want somebody in office that's going to deal with the virus. We have a mandate about minimum wage. Minimum wage is right now being raised to $15. We have a mandate about the wealth tax. We have a president now who is promising to tax the wealthy and to not tax the poor, to reduce student loan payments. So these are mandates, and mandates are power. All right, so it comes down to power, because Trump had a mandate. His mandate was to cut taxes for the wealthy. He did. His mandate was to get us out of national alliances that have been formed by NATO. He did. That was his mandate from Putin. His power, right? His mandate. He had other mandates to make sure that the minimum wage was not raised, to privatize the industry, to keep private prisons afloat. Whereas Biden has already signed an executive order to stop private prisons. So it comes down to mandates. So this this $20 bill with Harriet Tubman, that's important. It's to show like, okay, we're controlling this country. We're not going to be victims of your oppression and racism. In fact, your oppression and your racism rears ugly head. We got the lawyers ready for you. We're gonna make sure that you are out of business. Like you get these Karens on television calling people the N-word and stuff. We're gonna make you go viral, and we're gonna get you fired. And or if you have a business, we're gonna run you out of business. That's power. And honestly, I mean, that was one of the strategies that we have learned and definitely should learn from the civil rights era. Like people, you can argue about the whole thing with integration, whether it's right or wrong, but what they understood in the civil rights era is that you protest the businesses that do not hire Black people to work there. If we can't work there, then our money is not good enough for you either. So we're not going to shop there. So we're going to go and shop in other places where we're welcome and where we're respected.
The bus boycotts was a prime example. A great example. The bus
exactly. Boycott. Yes. So here we are today. It's basically the same thing. You get one of these Karens come on TV, cursing people out, calling the N-word. We find out where they work.
You see, J Blues Radio. We were talking about that earlier. We both believe that trauma is inherited. You ever see a person that is afraid of dogs for no reason? You know, like me. I don't like boats.
You don't like boats? Never knew that.
No, I don't like getting on. We went to the Dominican Republic for our honeymoon. My wife talked me into getting on a catamaran. I didn't like it. And when I was a kid, when I was a kid, when I would go fishing, everybody else is fishing the whole time. I'm on the older side of the boat like this. Everybody else counting their fish. We come back. I'm with a garden hose cleaning off the side of the boat. But we're gonna go ahead and get out of here, man. Brother Mukasa, man, I appreciate you for coming through.
Thank you, bro.
Man, this was awesome, man.
Hope I didn't talk your ear off too much, man.
Nah, man, this is actually the longest show.
That's an hour and a half.
Yeah. But it was a good show, man. It was
and when we talk, we can talk this long anyway.
Yeah, man. Look, my battery go dead talk to you, man.
I'm falling asleep, bro. I gotta catch up with you, man. I gotta go to bed.
Hey, look,
catch up later, man.
I wanted to talk. I wanted you to talk about your martial arts system, man. But we ain't got time tonight. We got to do this again.
Another day.
Yeah, because like I said, a lot of the people in the chat, they in the combat sports or whatever, and I don't know if DB is in here. I think DB has some has a mixed martial arts gym out in California. He's from South Central. I know he would probably love to talk to you because you got your own whole system.
Yeah.
And so I know he would probably love to talk to you. But
yeah, well, we could definitely. I mean, we can have a conversation other day. It's a whole lot of things, that we both dealing with. We still got I don't know where you are with that that group we was gonna set up. Was it Delaware with the young brothers?
We can talk about that offline.
Yeah. I'm just saying we got a lot of things to get to.
yeah, because I
you got goals.
Yeah, I moved back home. I'm not on the Air Force Base anymore, so I'm not.
Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely got to get you back on here, man. And everybody's if you haven't subscribed to the channel. Where can people reach you at on social media? There's a couple people there wanted to know what your social media handles are.
I'm on everywhere, almost. Not everywhere. Facebook page, Mukasa Africa Mayat, business page, Dr. Mukasa Mayat, Instagram at Dr. Mukasa Mayat. I have 2 Twitters. One is primarily politics. One I'm not on as much. I just started. It's focused on stocks. You Google me, you'll find me. You might find some stuff you don't like that I've written over the years. But yeah, I'm on. You could reach me on Messenger as well, And if you're about the people, I'm about the people. You know, if you're about correcting all of the injustices that we face, then we're family. You know, if you're about reaching back to this younger generation, you know, we're in the same house. We're the same family.
And they can read your essays on the African Resistance blog, right?
Yes, yeah, I got essays on there, the WordPress. I got some people who done copied and selling some stuff that I've done without my permission.
Oh man. But like I said, man, everybody subscribe to the channel. Hate, like, comment, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff.
Yeah.
Out of my videos, man, 20% of the people that watch the videos are subscribers. 70% are non-subscribers. If I can get those 70% to subscribe, I might be at my goal.
Yes, yes, subscribe.
And on that note, I need to go get me some Chinese food. I need some wings in my life.
You better get that food for the lady. Don't let her get off work and not have her food, bro.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long night. All right, bro.
All right, bro. Love you, man.
I love you too, man.
Talk to you.
All right, man. We'll see everybody. Monday night, 7 p.m. At the Lieutenant Governor of Maryland in here. We're kicking off Black History Month. Monday night, 7 p.m. And so don't miss it. Later.